Hello and welcome to Digital Transformation in the Age of AI. My name is Andrew Muir, Senior Director at Avanade and the Azure Cloud Lead for our Asia Pacific region. In our first podcast, we built on the original webinar discussion of how clients have used the recent market disruption triggered by the Broadcom licensing changes to VMware to question how they can better take advantage of the public cloud and accrue the consequential benefits, including those from AI. Today, we're going to discuss how organizations are beginning or restarting their cloud journey, and to that end, I'm pleased to welcome Steve Hunter, who joins us from Charlotte in the USA. Steve is part of Avanade's Applications and Infrastructure Leadership team with global responsibility for the Azure platform practice. His history at Avanade spans some 24 years across delivery, solutions, sales, and offering development. One of the highlights includes relocating his family to India for several years to help establish some of the key infrastructure services available at Avanade today. So Steve, many thanks for joining me and welcome. Reflecting on the initial podcast and how CIOs and CTOs are taking the time to review their cloud strategy, a key constraint that many organizations experience is a lack of expertise and knowledge in transforming and best leveraging the cloud. What is the experience that system integrators like Avanade can bring to bear to help people in understanding how they can start or restart their cloud journey?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. And thanks for having me on. It's good to be able to chat with you. I think like any meaningful endeavor that a business takes on, you need to start with a plan. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, as the adage goes. And we've helped countless customers sort of navigate this journey, and we've seen a lot. And I think if I sort of boil it down into maybe two sort of extremes as to what happens with customers, is that in on one side they sort of have this really bias to action that doesn't allow them to address I think some of the key elements ahead of what they're doing. So they have sort of this ready, fire, aim kind of approach where they ignore key elements of the journey in lieu or in bias to action, and they end up painting themselves into a corner that could have been avoided. If we think about this in the context of infrastructure, which is where my specialization is, we see this all the time where customers are moving into the cloud. There's sort of an initial workload or an early initiative that they have to move into the cloud. And when you set up your cloud environment, you have to make a bunch of choices. And so when those choices are made in the context of a specific application or a specific workload, then later, you start layering in more and more workloads. They're sort of inheriting a lot of these decisions that were made in a much narrower context. And as a result, they kind of paint themselves into a corner where, now the foundation of their Azure environment isn't manageable. It's not scalable. It's hard to operate in because they haven't really thought through some of the key elements that are needed for enterprise scale. And that's the type of help that we can provide, because we understand what the longer journey looks like and what are some of the blockers you're going to run into, and how can we mitigate those things without slowing you down, but still be able to provide them with a foundation that can scale with the needs that they have. On the other side of the spectrum, there's those who they overthink the journey, and they want to get it all right from the beginning. They don't want to move until they have everything figured out. We see this a lot too. And the challenge is that if it all has to be right before you start your move, then you're never going to move. You'll be in that analysis paralysis stage. And the reality is that the landscape is constantly shifting in the cloud. You do need some anchors. You need some key elements that you're going to rally around. So in the agenda, if your move to cloud is anchored in speed, then what you need to focus on is what's limiting your speed today in the data center, and deal with those elements, because inherently the cloud will allow you to move faster, but it will only allow you to move as fast as what your operating model is based on. If cost is the big driver, then operating your environment in Azure the same way you operate it in the data center is not going to drive down costs. Again, your operating model is one of these big elements that needs to be in place in order for you to realize the value proposition of the cloud. And these are the types of things that we can help customers navigate in the journey, so that they can begin to capitalize on the value of the strategy that they have in the cloud without sort of painting themselves into a corner.
Well, thanks, Steve, for your thoughts on this. But once an organization has established and agreed their cloud transformation strategy, what are the main steps that are required to make that strategy become a reality?
Yeah, another great question. The way that we've sort of organized that journey into a methodology, if you will, is, and it's branded as Cloud Impact. And it starts with planning, as we just said. So there's a plan element to this. This is understanding your priorities, using the data in your environment to be able to help make decisions that are outcome based, and build that plan of action that is going to lower your risk, allow you to move faster, and ultimately just increase the effectiveness of what your cloud strategy is intended to deliver. A key to that in the plan stage is really around how your investments are going to deliver value. So if you're investing in this journey, then you need to understand how you're going to measure value and how those investments are going to return the value that you need, right? How do you measure it? What does success look like in the horizon? As you move forward, then in the next module in the Cloud Impact framework is build. And this is really around deployment automation and establishing a consistent, dependable way to deploy and manage resources in the cloud. Because automation is at the core of everything in the cloud operating model, and it's vital that companies begin to shift into much more of that deployment automation and management automation in order to really drive value out. Continuing to move on, then there's the move module, which is really about how do you quickly and effectively shift resources from your data center into the cloud at a manageable and sort of predictable cost. And what we've seen here is that what's key to success in the migration stage of the journey is it's not just about the technical replication of resources into the cloud, the lift and shift. While that tends to be a big element for many customers in the early stage of the journey, the lift and shift motion. For lift and shift to be successful, there's an element of business readiness along with technical readiness that needs to be addressed. And so the more that you can invest in the readiness element of that journey, then the more successful and rapid that migration can be. Because when everybody understands how it works and their role in the process, and really can depend on the outcome, then it allows customers to move at speed and scale and really have much more confidence in their strategy. And so that's a key element to that. And on a tangent to that is the next module, which is optimize, because as you move resources into the cloud, you start to consume in Azure, then it's very easy for customers to get into cost and consumption troubles in the cloud. Because of the way that the cloud operates, how easy it is to provision and how easy it can be to leave resources running or to be inefficient in how we're consuming, it's a key element for them to get structured around this. Because in the data center, these are all essentially sunk investments. When you build the infrastructure, then using that infrastructure however you will is really just about making sure you maximize how much you're running inside of that environment. You get the most out of it. Well, in the cloud, it's very different. You pay for what you use every hour. Or every minute or every second or whatever, however the billing structure is. And so it's really important to do that. And FinOps as a framework is vital here, but it's also for most of our customers a step too far to really drive a true FinOps organization. Instead, the first step that they should focus on is how to understand the costs that they have and when and where to take action to help minimize those things. And that's what the optimized module is really all about. And then the last module is the run, which really is about how many of our customers want to get out of the business of sort of the commodity management of infrastructure in the cloud and focus their resources and their energy on areas where they can influence the most impact, really, right? How do they take what's special about their business and their workloads and transform those into things that deliver value into the business? And that typically doesn't come from, your email system or your Active Directory environment, those types of things. Nobody pays you more for your product because you have a email system, right? It's really about what's the innovation that you're building into the technology so that you can deliver value to the business.
Thanks, Steve. That's some great insights into the stages that customers need to go through. However, given the overall theme of these video podcasts being digital transformation in the age of AI, where are we seeing that AI can be used to inform and accelerate the cloud journey?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a big question. We see it everywhere, really, whether that's in the AI-assisted software development lifecycle that is really permeating a lot of what we do and what our customers are doing. We've got a lot of opportunity with customers to help sort of layer in some governance for how they can generate ideas that are going to transform their business and deliver value in the context of AI. That's a really difficult thing for them to kind of manage and get their hands around. How do you govern and generate those ideas? We see productivity with Copilot. We see this whole pivot that's happened now in the industry into the agentic models of AI, and all kinds of opportunity. It's all over the place. The thing I think though that I would say is when I talk to customers more and more, the question that surfaces is really, how do you fund the AI initiative that they have? Because what's happening is that it's not budgeted. They don't have room for it within the IT organization, and so but the IT organization is really trying to help to enable this strategic initiative for the business. They know it has to happen, and so what's happening is the funding is coming from the investment in the legacy environments. And what it's doing is really just layering in additional technical debt in order to be able to fund the new. And so what we have been trying to help our customers with is looking at where they're spending today in their Azure environment or in their on-prem environment and unlocking some consumption, latent consumption that isn't really productive, helping them optimize their costs, freeing up some of that latent spend so that it can be then diverted to be able to fund these types of AI initiatives that deliver value to the business. So it becomes this virtuous cycle that allows them to not only get more out of what they're spending, but also really, again, helps to build more confidence in their strategy because they feel like they're getting better value out of what it is that they're doing in the cloud. And what we've seen is by saving money in how they spend in Azure, actually turns around and they spend more in Azure because they feel more confident with what it is that they're doing. There's more value that's being delivered. So this AI pivot is so fundamental to customers But the challenge is, how do you fund it? And so we've been helping customers at this stage of the journey just free up some of that spend to be able to help progress the initiative.
Well, many thanks, Steve, for your time today and sharing your point of view on what is still for many organizations quite a challenge, whether they've already embarked on leveraging the cloud or are rethinking their strategy given the potential benefits of AI in their organization. The points that Steve only had time to briefly touch on today, and especially the AI use cases for cloud transformation and how AI can be leveraged by IT groups, will all be investigated in future episodes. Following on from Steve's point about the significant interest in AI-assisted software development, I'm going to take a slight step out of our planned podcast sequence in the next episode. In that session, we will start to look at how AI can be leveraged by application developers to inform and speed software development process as part of a Gen AI-infused SDLC, but also discuss some of the constraints in this new world. For those who are celebrating, may I wish you a very blessed Christmas and a peaceful New Year. Till next time in 2025, stay safe.